Mental hospital horror story. I should never have come here. The senior physician position at Norrgården Mental Hospital looked promising on paper. New challenge in scenic Norrland, modernized care in a historic environment. That's what the advertisement said. What it didn't mention was the isolation, the cold that seeps through the walls, and above all, the whispers that echo through the corridors when night falls. The snowstorm raging outside has cut us off from the outside world for 3 days now. The phone lines are down, mobile network non-existent, and the only road through the forest is impassable. 4 meters of snow doesn't fall overnight without burying something. My name is Bergström. I was a respected psychologist with a promising career in Stockholm. Now I'm trapped in an almost 100-year-old mental hospital, surrounded by patients whose diagnoses I've begun to doubt and staff whose loyalties are unclear. The antique pendulum clock in the vestibule shows 22 minutes to 12. I know I should go to bed, but I haven't slept for 2 days, not since I found the notebook. My assistant Sofia stands in the doorway to my office, her face partially hidden in shadow. "You should rest, Dr. Ström." She leans against the doorframe with a casual confidence I would appreciate under other circumstances. "Unless you're still reading that old book," I reflexively close the worn leather-bound notebook. The pages are yellowed, the text written in a neat but distorted handwriting. "Just documenting today's observations," I lie. "The patients are reacting strongly to the storm, especially Annika." Sofia's face lights up in a smile that doesn't reach her eyes. She has been active tonight. Annika is officially no longer a patient here. She was discharged 3 months ago, but returned under mysterious circumstances when the storm began. I've seen her sneaking through the corridors, mumbling about the shadows that whisper. "Have you seen her?" I ask. "She wanted me to give you a message." Sofia holds out a folded piece of paper. She said it's about what happens at midnight. When I take the note, her fingers are ice cold. I unfold the paper and read the hastily scribbled words. They come back at 12, as they always have, as they always will. "What does this mean?" I ask. Sofia shrugs. "It's a mental hospital horror story that patients tell each other. Something about experiments performed here long ago, but Dr. Bergström could tell you more. He has worked here since, well, a long time. Something in how she says it makes my heart beat faster." Sofia is 26 years old and has only worked here for 6 months, just like me. But sometimes she talks about the hospital's history with a familiarity that is frightening. "I need to talk to Bergström. He's in the archives," says Sofia. "But hurry, there's only 30 minutes left until midnight. The archive is in the basement. The corridor there is lined with flickering fluorescent lights that cast a sickly yellow glow over the cracked walls. Something thick and black slowly runs down the concrete wall, like tar refusing to solidify in the cold. Dr. Bergström stands bent over an open archive drawer, his thin white hair standing on end as if he recently received an electric shock. He is 75 years old and has worked at Norrgården for over 4 decades. The staff says he never leaves the hospital, not even when he's off duty. "Ah, Dr. Ström," his voice is surprisingly soft. "Have you come to prepare yourself?" "Prepare myself for what?" I hold up Annika's note. "What happens at midnight?" Bergström gently closes the archive drawer and locks it. "You found the book in the basement, didn't you? The one with the unusual treatment methods?" I nod slowly, surprised that he knows about it. "I found it behind a removable ventilation grate. It said something about time studies. Experiments to manipulate patients' perception of time." "Manipulate," Bergström mumbles. Such a clinical word for something so grotesque. He goes to a filing cabinet in the corner and opens it with a key hanging around his neck. "They weren't trying to manipulate time, Dr. Ström. They were trying to stop it." He takes out a dusty box and places it on the worn wooden table in the middle of the room. When he opens it, I see that it's full of photographs, black and white portraits of patients with empty gazes and distorted facial expressions. Psychological horror is nothing compared to what these people endured, Bergström continues as he spreads out the pictures. Dr. Håkansson, the chief physician here in the 1950s, was obsessed with the idea that certain mental illnesses were due to an incorrect relationship with time. He believed that by resetting patients' perception of time, he could cure them. I pick up a photo. A young woman with staring eyes and her mouth open in a silent scream. What did he do to them? Håkansson built an underground complex beneath this building. Bergström points to the floor, an operating room where he experimented with drugs, electricity, and his voice lowers to a whisper, rituals from sources that were neither medical nor scientific. I feel an ice-cold chill creeping up my spine. This is no longer just a mental hospital horror story. The terrible images in front of me are too real. And midnight, I press, as the ticking of the pendulum from the floor above seems to grow louder. At midnight, he made them timeless, as he called it. Bergström looks up at the ceiling. And at midnight, they come back every night, but especially during big storms when the hospital is isolated from the outside world. Then the boundary between now and then thins, then they can almost come through. A sudden scream from the corridor interrupts us. I immediately recognize the voice. Annika, I mutter and hurry toward the door. Wait, Bergström calls after me. It's almost 12, you must, but I don't hear the rest. I rush through the corridor toward the screams. I find Annika on the floor outside what was once a treatment ward but is now used as storage. Her body shakes in violent convulsions, her eyes rolling back so that only the whites are visible. Annika, can you hear me? I kneel beside her, trying to hold her head still. Her skin is ice cold. They whisper. She gets out between clenched teeth. They tell about the experiments. When time stops, Sofia suddenly appears beside me. We need to move her right now. She needs medical help, I protest. What she needs is to get away from here before the clock strikes 12. Sofia is unnaturally strong as she pulls my arm. Help me now, Dr. Sturm. Together we carry Annika through the corridor, away from the closed ward. I notice that Sofia seems to know exactly where we're going, despite this part of the hospital rarely being used. We pass a door marked staff only and continue down a narrow spiral staircase I've never seen before. Down, further down than I thought possible. The air becomes colder, thinner. The walls shift from institutional white paint to raw, damp concrete. Where are we? I ask breathlessly as we continue down. Under the hospital, Sofia answers, where everything began. When we reach the bottom, Sofia opens a heavy steel door. Behind it is a large circular room, cold and sterile like a tomb. In the center stands an operating table in stainless steel, surrounded by antique medical equipment. Mirrors are mounted in the ceiling and on the walls, creating a confusing optical illusion of infinity. The hidden surgical chamber mentioned in the notebook. As I look around, I notice something eerie. The reflections in the mirrors don't quite match reality. In certain angles, I see people standing around the operating table, shadowy, flickering, dressed in medical clothes from another time. What the hell is this? My voice echoes ominously in the round room. It's where they became timeless, Sofia answers. She places Annika on the operating table almost tenderly. And it's where we need to be to survive midnight. From somewhere far above us comes the first stroke of the pendulum. It's 12 o'clock. They're coming now, Annika suddenly whispers, her eyes wide open but still staring at nothing. The shadows, beings from the other side of time. The room suddenly becomes ice cold. My breath forms white clouds in the air. In the mirrors, I see movements, figures gliding closer. Dr. Bergström bursts through the door, panting and pale. You shouldn't have come here, not to the epicenter itself. You're the one who said they come at midnight, I protest. Yes, he answers with a trembling voice. But I didn't mean for you to confront them. No one survives an encounter with them. Explain, I demand, what's happening here. The experiments, Bergström stammers. They succeeded. Håkansson actually managed to stop time for his patients. But he didn't just stop their experience of time, he created something worse. Beings without anchoring in time, neither dead nor alive. They exist in the borderland between moments, in the pauses between seconds. And at midnight, when the day both ends and begins, they can almost enter our reality. The next stroke of the pendulum makes the mirrors vibrate. In them, I now clearly see people, or something that once was people, with distorted faces and eyes filled with infinite suffering. They're hungry, whispers Sofia. They've been hungry for 70 years. Hungry for what? I ask, although I already suspect the answer. For time, Annika answers from the operating table. For life, for identity. They want everything you are, everything you've ever been, everything you will become. I turn to Sofia, whose eyes now shine with an unnatural intensity. How do you know all this? How do you know the hospital's history so well? A third stroke from the pendulum, and I realize with horror that Sofia no longer casts a shadow on the floor. Because I was here, she says in a voice that suddenly sounds older, rougher. I was one of Hackanson's assistants. I helped him with the experiments, and when it went wrong, I became one of his victims. The fourth stroke of the pendulum fills the room with a vibration that makes my teeth chatter. The mirror's reflections now show a room full of shadow figures, while we are only 4 people in reality. You were never meant to survive, hisses Sofia, or what is now using Sofia's body. None of you, Bergström suddenly falls to his knees, his hands stretched out in front of him in a pleading gesture. I have served you for 40 years. I have sent you so many. Please don't take me. With horror, I realize the truth. You've known all along. You've lured staff and patients here to this ward during storms. Bergström nods, tears running down his furrowed face. They demand sacrifices. If they don't get what they want, they take everyone, the entire hospital. I've just tried to protect the majority. The 5th stroke, 6th, 7th. Time seems to flow more slowly between each stroke, as if the pendulum is fighting against something that wants to stop it completely. Annika suddenly rises from the operating table. Her movements are jerky, unnatural. They chose me first, she says in a voice that is no longer her own. 3 months ago, I have been their eyes and ears in here. Prepared your arrival, my employment, I mumble. It was never a coincidence that I got the job here. No, Sofia laughs, we chose you very carefully. A psychologist with a history of depression. A man whose marriage is falling apart. A soul already halfway to losing itself, perfect for our purposes. The 8th and 9th strokes come almost simultaneously, as if time is collapsing on itself. In the mirrors, I now see how the shadow figures reach out hands toward us, their bodies distorted by pain and hunger. A terrible feeling of loss of identity overwhelms me. I can no longer remember my wife's face, the names of my parents, which university I studied at. You can't take me, I protest weakly. I am real, I exist in time. Do you, whispers Sofia, now just inches from my face. Or are you already lost? How much of you remains? 10th stroke, 11th. Bergström suddenly screams and throws himself at the door, but it slams shut in front of him by an invisible force. He turns to us with a wild look. There is a way, he gasps, a way to stop it. I have researched, in secret. All these years, from his pocket, he pulls out a small glass bottle filled with a black liquid. Hackanson's original formula, the same drug he used in the experiments. If someone drinks it, takes it over. Absorbs all the entities into themselves. But that would, I begin. Yes, Bergström nods. Whoever drinks becomes the new anchor, trapped between dimensions forever. But the rest can go free. The 12th stroke begins to sound, drawn out, extended in an almost infinite tone. Time seems to stop completely. The air becomes thick as syrup. Sofia and Annika simultaneously throw themselves at Bergström, their bodies now barely human anymore, more like extensions of the shadows that fill the mirrors. In the tumult, the bottle falls to the floor and rolls toward me. I have a choice to make, an impossible choice. The 12th stroke continues to echo, held in an impossible pause. I lift the bottle. I don't know how much time has passed. Hours, days, years. I wake up in a hospital bed. The white painted wall in front of me is clean, without the cracks and stains I've grown accustomed to. The light outside the window is bright. The snow glitters in the sunshine. A nurse I don't recognize enters. Good morning, Mr. Sturm. How are we feeling today? Where am I? My voice feels rusty, unused. At Norrgården's rehabilitation ward, you've been sleeping for a long time. Sofia, Dr. Bergström, Annika, I ask. The nurse looks confused. I don't know any Sofia who works here. Dr. Bergström retired several years ago, and we don't have a patient named Annika at the moment. I try to sit up, but I'm too weak. What happened? You were found unconscious in an old, closed-off part of the basement during the severe snowstorm 2 weeks ago. You've been in and out of consciousness since then, with high fever and severe hallucinations. They weren't hallucinations, I protest weakly. It was real, the midnight hour when time stops, the experiment. The nurse gently pats my hand. Confusion is common after such high fever. Rest now, and the doctor will come to see you soon. As she leaves, I see something that makes my heart stop. On her left wrist, partially hidden by her uniform, a small mark, like a burn shaped like a clock without hands. The same mark I now notice on my own wrist. Through the window, I see how the snow begins to fall again, thick, impenetrable. In the reflection in the window glass, I could swear I see Sofia's face behind mine for a moment, her lips forming words I cannot hear. In the corridor outside, an old pendulum clock ticks. It's 10 minutes to 12. They'll be back tonight, as they always have, as they always will. I now know that this psychological horror where time stops at midnight is not something you can escape from. The horror story about secret experiments in mental hospitals is not just a story, it's an eternal cycle. I took the liquid that night, drank it, absorbed them all, but I underestimated their power. Instead of capturing them, I became their portal. We are one now, me and all the lost souls from abandoned mental hospitals throughout time. And we are hungry. The pendulum ticks on. Soon it will be midnight again.